Hello, everyone. Welcome to Penn Engineering Online. My name is Jackie Panto. I am the Admissions Recruitment Manager here at Penn Engineering Online. And today we are very happy to bring to you our admissions webinar. And we are going to be focusing on our brand new online program, which is our Master's of Science in Engineering and Data Science, otherwise known as our MSE-DS Online program. So today we have a very special guest. We have Professor Jim G, and Professor G is the program director for MSE-DS Online. So he is here to give you firsthand information about the program. He'll go through like a program overview. He'll talk about the curriculum, go through some of the courses, and make you feel real comfortable and give you lots of knowledge about the program so that you're ready to either start the application or get through the application if you've already started it. Once he's through that, he's going to turn the presentation back over to me, and then I am going to go through the application process with you. I'm going to try to take a deep dive into the application elements, and hopefully I'm going to give you some good tips on how to build a strong application. I'm also going to go over dates and deadlines so that after the webinar, you feel pretty confident and you'll know what your next steps are into finishing up your application and getting your application submitted on time. We are going to allow time at the end of the webinar for questions. So if you do have questions, we will be allowing time at the end for a question and answer session. And both Professor G and myself will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. Now, before we get started, there's some webinar like housekeeping tips, webinar useful information. So first of all, the webinar is being recorded, so there's no need to worry if you miss information or if after the webinar you forgot something that we said. You can go back and you can watch the webinar. You can watch it as many times as you want. You can certainly share it with a friend that might be interested. And the other thing is that when you go on our YouTube channel where we host those webinars, there are other past webinars on there. So it's a great resource. So there's lots of good information, student resource information, career services information. So there's other webinars that you can also view, past webinars. And that's a really valuable resource as you're going through the fact-finding stage of any of our programs here at Penn Engineering Online. So you can check out those past webinars as well. Again, I mentioned we're going to have room or we're going to save time at the end of the webinar for questions. What you need to do, there's a Q&A function in Zoom. It's on the Zoom toolbar. Use that function. You want to make sure you type your questions in that Q&A function. Some of those questions will be answered throughout the webinar. We have a behind the scenes team answering questions. So some questions will be answered in the Q&A throughout the webinar, and then other questions will be saved for the end of the webinar. And again, Professor G and myself will be answering some questions towards the end of the webinar. So I think I've kind of laid out what the next 50 minutes or so is going to be like. So what I'd like to do is turn the presentation over to Professor G. And Professor G, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. It's all yours.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much, Jackie. And good morning, everyone. I presume it's morning for most everyone, and we actually don't have anyone dialing in from abroad. In any case, hello again. I'm Jim G, and I'm very excited to be part of the team that's extending our training initiative in data science at Penn to the online space. My own background is in computer science. I trained here actually at Penn at the Computer Information Science Department, and subsequently joined the faculty at the medical school where I work broadly in medical image computing. I hope to bring some of my experience from creating and directing our flagship imaging science PhD training basis program in biomedical imaging and informational sciences that will be matriculating its 16th cohort this fall. A couple of fun facts. I'm supposed to mention some of these things. I was born and raised in Africa, Nigeria specifically, and did a stint in a British boarding school for a few years before continuing my training in the States from high school onwards. So every now and then you'll hear me slip in some British colloquialism or pronounce things a little differently, and now you know why. All right. So why MSE-DS Online? I expect I'm really preaching to the choir a little bit here, but data science, which I define as the art and practice of acquiring, organizing, analyzing, and understanding data toward domain-specific solutions, is literally integral to virtually every disciplinary and professional pursuit one can think of today. Fluency with data analysis methods has become essential for every scientist, researcher, engineer, analyst, or policymaker. At Penn, we've been at the forefront of training data scientists of the future. The introduction of our online program builds on both the excellence of the data science research and training at Penn and the strengths of Penn Engineering Online Learning. As a focus of our recent The Power of Penn Engineering, Inventing the Future, a fundraising campaign, Engineering School Dean Vijay Kumar notes that the data science is a, quote, a field that's central to the future of humanity, with, quote, data-driven approaches and methodology being used to drive decision-making and propel innovation in virtually every academic discipline and business. Our goal is to graduate students who are able to combine a background in scalable, robust, computational and statistical methods with an application domain in such areas as engineering, marketing, the social sciences, the biomedical sciences, communication, or the arts and humanities. And to make this happen, our students will develop skills transcending any specific application area and outcomes, including an ability to formulate and evaluate hypotheses, an understanding of statistical modeling and statistical tests, a strong background in supervised and unsupervised machine learning methods, an ability to load, clean, integrate, analyze, and visualize data, an ability to write data analysis code, whether they be scripts or workflows that can scale to large data volumes and streaming data, and finally, an understanding of data ethics and data privacy issues and concerns, precedents, and best practices. So who's this program designed for? Well, the profile for the MSE-DS Online student that we are targeting is someone who's interested in solving problems and expected to be quantitatively and algorithmically minded with a demonstrated interest in data science. Your background may include an undergraduate degree in computer science or a computer science minor, or a degree in a highly quantitative field with demonstrated work experience in software development. A bit about our program curriculum. Again, it's designed to target core data science learning objectives and allow for a wide and extensible set of depth areas to connect to a variety of application domains. In particular, we're interested in establishing a common baseline to ensure proficiency in probability and statistics, as well as at least one programming language, currently Python. The implementation of these principles is summarized here. Your 10 course units will comprise 4 core courses plus 4 technical electives and 2 more open electives. In particular, the core curriculum includes the following classes: CIS 5450, Big Data Analytics. Well, in this era of big data, we're increasingly faced with challenges of processing really vast volumes of data. And this course focuses on fundamentals of scaling computation to handle common data analytics tasks. You learn about basic tasks in collecting, wrangling, and structuring data, programming models for performing certain kinds of computation in a scalable way across many compute nodes, common approaches to converting algorithms to such programming models, standard toolkits for this kind of work, and popular distributed frameworks for analytics tasks such as filtering, graph analysis, clustering, and classification. CIS 5500 concerns databases and information systems. You can imagine how this is essential to what we want to do in terms of data science. It'll be important to know about the backend information systems that store and that we use to manage this kind of data. ESE 5410, machine learning for data science. I certainly don't need to tell you that machine learning has been essential to the success of many recent technologies, And this course will introduce the fundamental concepts and algorithms that enabled computers to learn from data with an emphasis on their practical application to real problems. This course will introduce supervised learning, as well as unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. Additionally, the course will discuss evaluation methodology and recent applications of machine learning, including large-scale learning for big data and network analysis. ESE 5420 and CIS 5150 are so-called electives in the core courses. You have to take one of these as part of the core courses. 5420 is a course in which you'd be introduced to a broad range of statistical and computational tools to analyze large data sets. And this course provides a solid foundation of data science, statistics, and machine learning to make data-driven predictions via statistical modeling and inference. CIS 5150 really focuses on linear algebra, or the mathematics behind many of the tools that we use in data science. They're virtually no machine learning problem for which solutions do not actually make use of linear algebra. So this course presents tools from linear algebra and basic optimization that are used to solve various machine learning and computer science problems. It places emphasis on linear regression, data compression, support vector machines, and more to provide a basis for further study in machine learning, computer vision, and data science. Both theoretical and algorithmic aspects will be discussed, and students will apply theory to real-world situations through programming projects. Again, as I mentioned, among the four courses, students have to take one of ESE 5420 or CIS 5150. However, my own recommendation is that you'll do very well by taking all of the core courses that are listed here, meaning using one of your technical electives to actually be to allow you to take the 5 courses that were listed as core here. The technical and open electives are designed to support both acquisition of more in-depth knowledge of core subject matter and the development of specialized knowledge relevant to different focused application areas that broadly fall in the realm of data-centric programming or data analysis / artificial intelligence. I'm going to hand things over to Jackie now, who's going to talk a bit more about the course experience.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Professor G. Just want to remind everybody about if you do have questions, please use the Q&A function. You can just type them in there and we'll start answering questions behind the scenes on that function, or we'll be answering them at the end. But to get questions answered at the end, you have to type them out in that Q&A function. So just a quick reminder about that. What I wanted to do before we get into the application is I wanted to explain a little bit about what the course experience is like. Online learning is obviously is very different from classroom learning, and every online experience can be different. Not every online program is the same. So the way our online program is structured, we do provide a lot of flexibility, but there is structure within the online format as well. So for example, our professors have pre-recorded, and they're beautiful recordings, very professionally, high quality recordings, but they've pre-recorded their lectures. So you can pretty much watch those. They're available on day one. If for some reason you wanted to watch them all at the same time, you could. We don't recommend that. We recommend you watch them as the course progresses. But again, it gives you the flexibility to watch the lectures when it fits in best to your schedule. Many of our students are working, they're working full time, so they can fit the lecture watching in when it's best for them. So there's really no required real-time sessions. What is structured is that the coursework, the course assignments, they're pretty much released on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. So the syllabus would have this all planned out, and there would be due dates either every week or every other week, due dates to the coursework that corresponds with say the first lecture series. And so that is, you do have to abide by deadlines or when coursework is due. And then once that first assignment is due and that's handed in, then maybe the second assignment is opened up. And again, you'd have another week or 2 weeks to finish up that assignment as well. So there is some structured in terms of assignments being due on a weekly and bi-weekly basis, but there's a lot of flexibility as to when you actually work on those assignments and when you actually watch the pre-recorded videos. Now we also have TAs that help out, and you always have access to TAs. In terms of communication, every course has an ongoing discussion forum that's built into it. So you can ask questions to TAs through discussion boards. You can also talk with other students through discussion boards as well. But it's a great way to communicate with TAs if you do have a certain question about a problem that you're working on. You don't understand a concept, and TAs, our teacher assistants, are really good at getting back to students, say within a 24-hour period. So there's lots of interaction on these discussion boards. There are also other communication elements that are more student-oriented, that once you become a student, we give you access to other communication vehicles. We use a Slack forum where students are communicating on Slack. There's also a LinkedIn group. So there's lots of ways to communicate with fellow students throughout the program. In addition, there's office hours. Our professors have set office hours. Our teacher assistants also can have office hours, or they also participate in recitations. Those are live, so you could participate if the timing works out for you in live recitations where they're usually maybe going over a problem. But if you can't attend the live session, those are also recorded and you can watch them at any time. So again, it gives a lot of flexibility, but there is structure to it in terms of when things are due and how assignments are released. So it is a very, very well thought out program. You are not left alone. There's lots of resources to help you every step of the way, and a great means of communication as well. So next, I want to talk a little bit about our application and our application elements. So we have many things that you have to work on and to submit with the application. The first element is the resume, and this is the element that a lot of applicants think is the easiest one. Many times, maybe you've just gone through a job search and you think, oh, I've updated my resume for the job search, so I'm all set, ready to go with the application for the MSE-DS Online program. That's not always the case. You want to look at your resume good, and you want to make sure your resume is structured in a way that's good to show that you are a great student and a great MSE-DS Online student. So, for instance, not everyone is great at online at an online structure. So if you've taken online courses, you might want to highlight that on your resume, have a little section for online coursework to kind of draw attention to it. Professor G also talked about how this program is structured, and the right candidate is somebody that has a computer science undergraduate degree. But perhaps you have a degree in another, say, highly quantitative area, and you took computer science courses, whether it was a minor or you took a chunk of computer science courses, then you may want to also highlight that on your resume, even though it's in your transcript. Because your degree doesn't say computer science, you may want to have a little section on your resume for that as well. So just want to take a look at the structure of that resume and maybe massage it in such a way that it's fitting well in terms of an application for the master's program. In terms of your personal statement, this is a great vehicle for us to get to know you, for the admissions committee to get to know you. We don't have interviews. It's not part of the application process, but the personal statement is almost a way that you can think of it kind of like an interview. So you want to make sure you answer every question that we have on the website with regard to personal statement. But you also want to, again, like I said, you're calling attention to certain things like online learning or computer science courses, anything at all that would help the committee learn a little bit more about you. You want to make sure that comes through in your personal statement. In addition, there might be some applicants that maybe had a rough semester or two rough semesters, whatever the case may be. This would be, and there might be a good reason for it. This would be the spot to put that and to explain maybe there's something that happened that was going on. You might want to put that in your personal statement as well. So again, you want to answer any question that's on the website about the personal statement. You want to make sure you hit every one, but it's also a place where there's any other additional information that you need to add. This would be the spot to do it. The other thing that we like to recommend, always have somebody else read your personal statement. Let them read the questions, the required questions. Let them read your essay. They might have some useful tips. Maybe you missed something or forgot something or didn't word it in the proper way. Definitely let another set of eyes hit that personal statement before you hit the submit button on your application. Unofficial college transcripts. So a few things and a few tips with this. First, we do need every college transcript for every school that you attended. So we do have applicants out there that maybe started at a community college and then moved to another college and it didn't go so well there and it wasn't meant for them and they moved to another college, or perhaps they physically moved and they had to change schools. So whatever the case may be, we need transcripts for every school that you attended. So every course with a grade, regardless of which school it is, we need every transcript, and we need to be unofficial college transcripts. So if you don't have an unofficial copy and you have to contact your school for a transcript, and you get an official copy sent to you, then what you would do is you would include a PDF copy, which is an unofficial copy, to be included with your application for admission. Okay, so unofficial college transcripts for every college that you attended. There is a $90 application fee. So before you're able to submit, you do need to pay the application fee as well. Now, in terms of letter of recommendations, this is the element that is somewhat out of your control. Because what you do is you give us on the application, you're going to give contact information for your recommenders. So you're going to give their name, their email address. Then they receive an email requesting the recommendation, giving them some instructions on what we're looking for and how to upload it through the system. They're going to upload the recommendation right through the portal to your application. Well, this is a little out of your control. Letters of recommendation must be received by deadline. So it's just like every other element, must be received by deadline. So if you have a slow recommender, that could definitely jeopardize your chance of your application being reviewed. So how do we handle this? Well, we need 2 letters of recommendation to consider your application, but we strongly urge that you solicit for 3 recommenders, meaning give contact information for 3. This way you have a safety net. And if one recommender is slow, then you have a little bit of a safety net because you've given 3, you've solicited for 3, and hopefully you'll get those 2 on time. Letters of recommendation, you want to select people that know you best. We're not that concerned necessarily with the title. You don't have to find the CEO or the president of the company, and especially if they don't know you well, you're better off seeking a direct supervisor or a supervisor that oversees or sees your work. If you're an entrepreneur, you can certainly use clients, but somebody that knows your work style, your work ethic, your work habits, things along those lines. So you're not using family or friends, and you certainly do not want to choose people that don't know you well. The GRE is optional. That is not a required element. However, some students choose to submit a GRE score. Again, it sometimes even proves further quantitative ability. However, if you've already gone through a computer science program, we know you have quantitative ability. But the GRE is optional, but some applicants do choose to submit that. The TOEFL scores are going to be needed mainly for our international students. So it's those students who are either, they're not US citizens, they're not US permanent residents, and English is not their primary language. So then a TOEFL, which is a English proficiency test, those scores would need to be included. They would be required. Now we do have the opportunity for a TOEFL waiver. So if English isn't necessarily your primary language and you're not a US citizen or a US permanent resident, but you did attend a school where the school was taught in English and you received either a bachelor's or a master's degree from that school and the program was taught in English, then you could submit for a TOEFL waiver. Just keep in mind, the TOEFL waiver, that happens after you submit your application. So once you submit your application, then you'll get information and email about the TOEFL and the TOEFL waiver. So make sure you allow time for that as well. It is a pretty much automatic email once you submit, but you want to make sure you allow some time for that as well. Now, after you submit your application, you're able to log in to a portal to see your checklist. So you can constantly track whether those recommendation letters were submitted. If you do decide to submit a GRE score, and again, that is optional, it's not required, you can check for the test score as well if that's been received. But this is a great spot to monitor the different materials that are coming in. Also, sometimes even after you submit your application, maybe you think you've submitted all of your college transcripts and we go through them and we notice that you've had some transfer credits and the transcripts aren't there for them. We will reach out to you to make sure that you do get in those transcripts if you've forgotten them or if there's any type of missing material, and that you can also see on your checklist. So in terms of dates and deadlines, it's really important that you take a look at this and you know when the deadlines are. Our current application is due October 10th. So that would be 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on October 10th. Also at that time, we're going to talk a little bit about our Dean's Master's Scholarship. That deadline is also the same for the scholarship. So when you're submitting your application for the program, you should also, if you're interested, be submitting the application for the scholarship. It's very easy to prepare for that scholarship application. The questions are right on our website. So if you go to our website and go to tuition, then go to scholarship, the questions are there. So you can go ahead and say, prepare the questions in another document and then copy and paste them right to the application so that you get those in time. So you can see the dates there, and our classes start obviously in January 2023. So hopefully this all gives you kind of like a guideline so that you can see what your next steps are as you finish up the application process. So next, I'd like to talk a little bit about tuition. This is the oh so important question that everybody has. So our tuition is $3,200 per course unit. And as Professor G showed you, there are 10 course units in the program. So that's a total cost of $32,000. And this is current tuition, this year's tuition. In addition, there is a fee. There's $144 per course unit fee. Again, 10 course units. The thing to consider with our tuition, you're only paying for what you register for. So if you're only taking one course in the semester, you're only paying for one course that semester. So that brings up a great point. We do allow students 7 years to complete the program. So if you need to spread your finances out over 7 years, you can do so. So for those students who might be funding everything completely on their own, and they want to budget and they want to spread finances out, you can do that. We actually have in our MSE-IT program, excuse me, online program, we have students that take one course at a time. They call themselves the Turtle Club. So not only are they spreading out in terms of the amount of work that they have to achieve in one semester, they're also spreading out their finances as well. So that is a great tool to think about as well. We do offer a Dean's Master's Scholarship. This is offered to U.S. citizens, U.S. permanent residents only. So if you are a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident, this would apply for you. And it basically would provide financial support. And basically what we're trying to do is the questions involved with this really help us, and this program really helps us even further develop a diverse student body. So we're really, this is a great program, and we're really proud of it. And definitely helps several students, a lot of students, in terms of tuition and in terms of advancing our mission as well. And again, those questions can be found on our website. So you want to go ahead and take a look at those questions on the website. So the last thing I want to talk about before we get into questions and answers, there may be some students on here, I'm sorry, there may be some potential students on here that now that Professor G's gone through the program overview, they might think to themselves, oh boy, I don't really have any computer science or enough computer science. So the MSE-DS online program may not be the right program for me right now. Our first online program, our MCIT online program, which is our Master's in Computer and Information Technology program, that program is designed for individuals that have no computer science but wish to have a master's degree in that area. So it's a very unique program. No computer science is needed. Applicants do have to have a strong quantitative aptitude, and that does need to be shown on the MCIT online application. But again, no computer science is needed. It's also a program with 10 course units. This program is 6 core courses, 4 electives. But the great thing about this program is that if you are interested in the MSE-DS online program, but feel you might not qualify because you don't have enough of the computer science background, you can start with the MCIT program and then move right into the MSE-DS online program. And we call that our dual degree. So you would start with the MCIT program. Once you graduate from the MCIT program, you would move right into the MSE-DS online program, and that's our dual degree. So the way that works, once you complete 6 courses in the MCIT online program, you can apply to the MSE-DS online program, and it's an abbreviated application. It's basically a personal statement. So you're not going to have to, again, this is for students that are been accepted and are MCIT online students. They finished 6 courses. They're not going to have to complete a full application with transcripts and letters of recommendation. It's an abbreviated application, and you get accepted to the MSE-DS online program. Then you would finish up the MCIT program, graduate from it, but then you would only need 6 additional courses for the MSE-DS program, online program. So you'd finish up the 10 in MCIT and then only need 6 additional courses in our MSE-DS online program. So basically you would do both online programs in a total of 16 courses. 4 courses for MCIT online would transfer to MSE-DS online. So it's a great opportunity for our MCIT online current students. It's a great opportunity for those of you who are on this webinar who have now realized, oh, maybe I don't have exactly all of the qualifications because I lack the computer science. Maybe I don't fit into the MSE-DS online program right now, but I can certainly start with the MCIT online program. So it is really a great opportunity, and I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that out today. So what I want to do, I think at this time, we've covered a ton of information. So let me see if I can pull up some questions. Just give me a minute here, and see if we might be able to have some questions answered. So it looks like our first question is, if we complete this master's degree, can we continue to a doctoral program? Do you want to answer that, Professor G?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that, Jackie. Absolutely. Our online master's degree programs, whether it's MCIT or MSE-DS, are designed to be full-fledged, fully certified, full-strength programs that would be identical to programs that you would take in person on campus. So if you are interested in continuing on in the doctoral program in something that's quantitatively related to data analysis, this program would prepare you extremely well for that kind of a trajectory and that kind of a training pathway. There are, at this point, only a handful of PhD programs in data science, but you would certainly be well qualified to look at any of the engineering programs that offer pathways in data science training as part of doctoral training. So absolutely, that would be the case. So hopefully that addresses that question. If you're interested in continuing training at Penn in a doctoral program, your performance and your success in completing the master's program would be viewed extremely well, and certainly your exposure to the faculty here would certainly be an asset in terms of evaluating your prospects as a doctoral candidate. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
I did see a number of questions, and we always have these questions because it is a new program. It is a brand new program. There are a lot of questions about qualifications. Because we do have certainly a diversity of candidates who are interested in the program, many of you with a diversity of backgrounds. And then also the particular orientation of our program, where we are aiming at an audience that has fairly significant computer science training to begin with. The reason being is that if you take a close look at our curriculum, these are all graduate level courses, okay? So these are not courses that are offered at the undergraduate level. So these topics may be offered at the undergraduate level, but we're teaching these at the graduate level, at the same level that will be taught on campus. So it really is quite important that you verify that you have the appropriate background to take these courses. So probably the litmus test, the best way to sort of answer this question for yourself is to look at our the syllabi for our program curriculum, carefully evaluate to see whether you actually have the appropriate background to take these courses. And it's okay if there's some catch-up work that you need to do, that's all right. But we certainly don't want you to be taking a course for which you're actually going to struggle and maybe even possibly fail because you don't have the appropriate background. That's an outcome that none of us would be interested in seeing happen. And so there's some self-assessment there. On the other hand, I would be happy to work with you individually to help you decide whether you actually have the necessary background. Jackie, do you want to add anything about that in terms of, there were some questions in terms of folk were interested in knowing if there are prerequisites that they are missing. Are there ways that they can possibly fill that prerequisite, either through online courses available at Penn or elsewhere? What's your recommendation there?
Yeah, so typically we advise students that they would need actual coursework with grades for the most part in computer science in order to qualify. You really need either that the major or the minor in computer science. And again, I think it comes down to what you said. We want our students to be successful as possible. We certainly don't want to set anybody up, for failure. We want students to be as successful as possible. So we want to make sure everyone is in a good spot, in a good situation, starting out the program and have the necessary tools that they need to be successful. I think that's really, very, very important. But we're happy to, we certainly do have applicants that send their transcripts to us, and we work with them and take a look at them on an individual basis. So that is totally fine. We're going to give our email address at the very end. So if you feel like you're kind of borderline and you're not 100% sure, we certainly are happy to take a look at transcripts. And if the admissions team has any questions, we certainly we ask the department, and we ask obviously Professor G to help us out there. So sometimes we all kind of take a look at things, for sure.
Yeah, so we won't automatically rule folk out if you haven't checked all the boxes. We do know that everybody has different circumstances. There are folk who are have the aptitude, they can actually pick up the material. We just need to make sure that there's demonstration of that aptitude. As Jackie mentioned, it's our goal is ensuring your success. And one way that we can do that is to make sure that you are properly prepared and qualified for the coursework. We appreciate that all of you are going to be quite busy that this is not going to be your full-time endeavor or your only endeavor. And so in this regard, if there is additional work that you have to do to keep up with a course, we want to make sure that you're going in eyes wide open. It's not that you can't do that, but we want to make sure that you do have those hours put aside to do that kind of catch-up work if that's the route that you choose.
And I think too, that brings up another good point is that we read every application. So, and they're reviewed holistically. So it's not that we look at an application and say, oh, there's no computer science major or minor, we're not going to look at it. We look at and read every application that's submitted from top to bottom. So that's what our admissions committee is trained to do. We review everything holistically. We look at every part of the application. We don't dismiss any application. We read it from top to bottom once an application is submitted and ready for review. And I think that's an important point too, because we really do go through it with a fine-tooth comb, so to speak. So yeah, great. The other thing I wanted to point out, which I kind of remembered it when we were talking about the doctorate program, those that want to go on. We do have a practicum elective, and it just came to my mind in the MSE-DS Online program. So that is actually an opportunity. It's a practicum, it's an opportunity. There's an on-campus component of that too. So you can come to campus with that practicum, with that elective. I believe you have to apply for it. So there's a little bit of an application involved with that elective course. But that's also another way, to begin working directly with professors. And that's a great component to the program. So a little bit more cost involved with it because you're coming here. But that's also another a great opportunity as well within the program. So I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out as well.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Jackie. I mean, that is something that's being developed, and the whole idea is for those students, trainees who may be interested in hands-on sort of interaction with faculty on campus. This would be one avenue for doing it. There are obviously constraints. There are a lot of folk who probably can't practically, take advantage of this opportunity. But certainly, that's a great point, Jackie. I mean, for those of you who are considering, additional advanced training beyond the master's degree, that would involve a research component. We would have you seriously consider the practicum component, because that would be a really great stepping stone towards the advanced training. It would also help you decide whether you actually want to take that big step of continuing your training, because it may be that the full-time research is not your cup of tea when you actually start doing it. On the other hand, if it really does rock your boat, then wonderful. But great. Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah, of course. I thought of that when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
We have another interesting question here that I think you might be able to help out with. What is the most challenging course in the program, and why?
Yeah, I mean, so I just mentioned cup of tea. Your cup of tea might be different than my cup of tea. That's an impossible question to ask. You could also ask me, what's my favorite course and why, and that would again be a very subjective answer. I think that what do folk typically find challenging? I think that for folk who have been out of training for a while, and have been out of school for a while, probably the aspects that you're going to find a bit challenging, and then you'll remember once you start back in classes, is just some of the fundamentals that you might be a bit rusty with. Some of the math, some of the computer science fundamental concepts. Hopefully it's like riding a bicycle, once you get back on the bike again and do a few homework exercises, a lot of this material starts coming back. I don't know. I would say that rather than in terms of, a particular course that's most challenging, again, speaking more generally, in terms of coming back as a student, I would think that the typical challenges that you will have will be in time management. You'll be very busy with the rest of your life, and fitting in this program will be something really new if you've never done online training before, or you've never done additional training in parallel with full-time work, and full-time taking care of kids, and running a family, and things like that. So that is something that we do evaluate as part of the application, as Jackie mentioned. Evidence that you can manage your time, that you can organize your life to be able to undertake this training, and do so in a way that doesn't place too much stress and too much burden on your life is something that will be important to ensuring that you do have a successful experience. So I would those are the things I would be more concerned about in terms of any trainee taking up a program, as opposed to any particular course being too challenging. I will confess that a lot of the students who come in from a more computing background will find the math-based courses a bit more challenging. I mentioned, I made a pitch for the linear algebra course, and most students will probably stay away from it. But I would say that if you're doing data science, you're going to be doing a lot of statistics, you're going to be doing a lot of machine learning, and the math behind the statistics and the machine learning is linear algebra. So a big part of it is linear algebra. I strongly recommend it, even and maybe if it's tough rowing going through the course, but it's a kind of thing where it's a kind of thing where actually going back to school is good to do. There are a lot of topics you could potentially actually pick up on your own. And probably engineering school doesn't want me to say this because we'd like you to actually take classes. But I imagine that many of you, are sufficiently self-driven that you've picked up a lot of stuff on your own at your work. Topics like math are hard to do on your own if you're not oriented that way. So that's a great course to take. As part of a training cohort.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Yeah,
we have a lot of applicants that do say, I've self-learned this and I've self-learned that, but now I need the formal training to really to move to that next step. So we do do that a lot. And I'm going to vouch for you, Professor G. You definitely are telling them that they probably should take both those courses. So yes. I'm here to vouch for you. Don't worry, I got your back. We have another question here. This has to do a little bit with course structure. It says, do the classes require group projects, and how will online students work together if they're from many countries or whatnot? I believe there are group projects, right, Professor G, in a lot of the courses?
I believe they are. At the same time, I do know that the faculty instructors are very sensitive to lifestyles and work constraints of folk that might potentially make it hard for people to convene and work at least synchronously on projects. So I think that any of the group projects would be designed to support sort of asynchronous sort of partnerships across the group members. I don't believe that there are, it's not a heavy emphasis of the courses, but certainly one thing that we do encourage trainees to do, though, for any of the exercises, we do encourage people to work together. We very much would like to emphasize, a team-based, a cohort-based approach to training. So as much as possible, if the exercises aren't designed for a group, we definitely do encourage trainees to work together to solve homework exercises and things like that, and to take advantage of the TAs in that fashion as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just from a standpoint of support, supporting each other, I think is really important in this program, especially, it can get pretty rigorous. So I think having that support is a great thing, definitely. And then, the other thing I like to point out, we are obviously we have with our MSE-IT Online students. So Penn Engineering Online is drawing from, I think right now it's 39 different countries. So we are very aware of, the diversity of where people are coming from and time zone issues. So I think even with exams are you can sign up for different time zones when it comes to exams. So we are well aware of it. We're very well versed in it, and we make sure that we accommodate wherever possible because we have people from all around the world. So I think the faculty is very in tune to that for sure. The other question that I have here has to do with the personal statement. So I can answer this one. What do you value most in the questions for the personal statement? So I think, again, we look at everything holistically. So every one of those questions in the personal statement is important. But again, the other thing that I always like to point out, every applicant is different and everybody has a different scenario and a different story and a different background. So it really is going to, depend on everything else that your application is presenting. So, for instance, I mentioned, if you had a bad semester and your GPA you might feel is lower than other applicants, then that might be an important part of your personal statement in pointing that out. If you've had, if you think that you haven't had enough online work, but you did take some online courses, maybe you graduated a while ago and you didn't have any online courses, but you've taken some recently, you want to point that out in your personal statement. That might be an important factor. Again, not everybody's cut out for online learning, so you may want to point that out. That might be important. I don't really think there's any one thing that's more important than the other. I think it's just a matter of making sure you answer those questions. And if there is something that might stand out about you that needs explaining, the personal statement is a good spot to do that as well. But we really do look at every question. We look at every application element, and we go through the application from top to bottom for sure. So let me see if there's any others here. Okay, so that are all the questions that have come through from all of you. Anybody else has a question, I'll give you a minute just to put it in the Q&A. If not, we are gonna wrap it up. I know we gave you a ton of information, so it's a lot to process, but I don't see anything else coming through. So I'm gonna give you some information on what to do if after the webinar you do think of that all-important question, how you can reach us and what your next steps would be. So if you have more questions, we do have an excellent fact database in our website. If you haven't had the time to go through our website is excellent. We give you a ton of information, not just about the program and the curriculum, but the application process. We break down the application. So if you think of something, make sure you go to the website, look at that fact database, and hopefully you can find the answers there. We also offer private admissions advising appointments. So these are office hours basically with the admissions team. We offer hours every week. I strongly urge you, especially when Professor G was talking about, maybe you're not exactly sure, you have some computer science, and you're not sure if maybe you are, the best qualified for the program, for applying. You might want to set up an advising appointment, and we can kind of talk through that. That's no problem at all. So I strongly urge you go on the website. If you go to website and go to events, in the events section, you can see the link for our advising appointments, our office hours appointments. So that's where to find those, and that's the link there. And then you can always email us. We do our very, very best to answer emails within 24 hours. That's our email address there. So please feel free to email us any questions. If you need us to take a look at something, if you need us to clarify something that was on the webinar, please feel free to do that. And again, we do our best to answer emails within 24 hours. And like I mentioned in the beginning, give us a few days or so, but this webinar will be posted. It's on our YouTube channel, and we will send it out, and it'll be available on our website too. So if you go to events and news in our website, you'll be able to find this webinar there. And we have lots of great webinars from the past that are also a great resource. So lots of things that you can do if you have a question after this, but we're always here to help. And we look forward to working with all of you and helping you through the admissions process. So we've given you a ton of information. We thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. And we look forward, if you have any questions, we're happy to help you in the future. So thank you so much. Thank you, Professor G, for all your great information. We appreciate it. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.